the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. We have a awesome show for you tonight. In fact, we have a number of shows for you tonight as usual. We will be covering the last presidential debate tonight. It's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. It'll be me, Anna, and Benjamin Dixon. Michael Schur will also be calling in from the field, so make sure that you check that out. We do play-by-play analysis, and so you'll hear a little bit of us during the debate, and obviously you'll have instant analysis right afterwards. You can watch that pretty much everywhere we are, including right here, wherever you're watching. Okay, so tonight's show, an epic self-own by Donald Trump, even by his standards. And then Dianne Feinstein didn't want to get outdone, so she did an epic self-own as well. And then Obama emerges, I wouldn't say out of a cave, but maybe out of a yacht to give a great speech. So mixed news on that front. Anyways, so you guys make this show possible. Such as it is, and such as you are, for some reason we've all banded together and decided to do this fascinating progressive show unlike anyone has ever done before. So tyt.com/go is what's powering us this year. And you are the Young Turks. So let's check in on the thermometer real quick. $127, you guys remember, of course, gets you a press-on t-shirt, and $1,000 gets you donor wall plus hoodie for a press-on, which is very rare. 66,786. Can I see 70,000 by the end of the debate? Is that possible? Do we dare dream? Let us whisper of a dream and see what happens. You guys are the best of the best. By the way, if you go to tyt.com/press-on, you can see all the different things you could name in the studio. It is pricey, no question, and we don't blame you if you can't do it. Every dollar matters. But if you can, check it out. It's fun. I'm going to do a video for you guys later, show you all the different things named by you guys all across the studio and what we see every day. All right, massive show. Casper, go.
All right. Acting Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, made some pretty heavy accusations against both Iran and Russia during a hastily assembled press conference yesterday. Now, we're gonna give you all the details about it, but what you're gonna get on this show is the cold hard truth in an uncensored way. That press conference, what was claimed in that press conference is mostly garbage. And I'll explain why. Without providing any evidence, the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, claimed that Iran was behind threatening voter emails in Florida, Alaska, and as many as 2 other states that were received by Democratic voters. The threatening emails were purported to be sent by members of the Proud Boys, but what the DNI is arguing is, no, it wasn't the Proud Boys. This is actually foreign countries attempting to meddle in our elections. Let's take a look.
We would like to alert the public that we have identified that 2 foreign actors, Iran and Russia, have taken specific actions to influence public opinion relating to our elections. First, we have confirmed that some voter registration information has been obtained by Iran and separately by Russia. This data can be used by foreign actors to attempt to communicate false information to registered voters that they hope will cause confusion, sow chaos, and undermine your confidence in American democracy. To that end, we have already seen Iran sending spoofed emails designed to intimidate voters, incite social unrest, and damage President Trump. You may have seen some reporting on this in the last 24 hours, or you may have even been one of the recipients of those emails.
So already there are some issues with the claims that he made in that first part of the press conference. First of all, again, 0% evidence provided to the people of America, just these accusations, then he moves on. Of course, there's an emphasis on Iran, although Russia was just briefly mentioned. And what he also didn't clarify is, how did they access voter information? Did they do so in an illegal way? He didn't clarify that, or a legal way. And you can actually access voter information remarkably easily online, especially in states like Florida. You can just Google a specific person's name. You'll find out what they're registered as. You'll find out what their address is. I think this is a huge privacy concern that we need to deal with here in the United States. But Ratcliffe was not in any way specific on how that information was obtained, whether it was illegal or legal. And then the second part of the press conference is really, really important. So let's just quickly watch that. And then, Cenk, I want to get your thoughts.
Iran is distributing other content to include a video that implies that individuals could cast fraudulent ballots, even from overseas. This video and any claims about such allegedly fraudulent ballots are not true. These actions are desperate attempts by desperate adversaries. Even if the adversaries pursue further attempts to intimidate or attempt to undermine voter confidence, know that our election systems are resilient and you can be confident your votes are secure. Although we have not seen the same actions from Russia, we are aware that they have obtained some voter information just as they did in 2016.
So Ratcliffe is saying that Iran has 3 goals: to intimidate voters, to incite social unrest, and damage, this is the important part, damage President Trump. And by the way, in terms of fraudulent ballots or voter fraud, remember that Donald Trump encouraged his supporters to vote twice, once by mail and then once in person. Cenk.
Yeah, so last night I did a video about this, and I was a little too credulous, and that's because I had understood that John Ratcliffe had gone out with Chris Wray, who's the head of the FBI. And the FBI has been trustworthy, and that's what I explained in the video last night. They've actually foiled a great number of terrorist plots, et cetera. And well, today there's a lot more information. First of all, the FBI did not say the same things as Ratcliffe just did. They did not emphasize Iran. They emphasized, don't worry, the election is safe, and we're on it, and making sure that the ballots themselves are not being tampered with. Second of all, this whole idea, which I noted last night of, oh, it's Iran and Russia, and let me tell you all about Iran. Wait, then what did Russia do? You apparently have information on both. Why are you only sharing one? Well, today there's a story out in the New York Times explaining that other people in the intelligence organizations say, yeah, the Russia one is way worse, and he chose to focus on Iran instead. Gee, I wonder if that's for a political reason. But now we get to the most important thing. Look, it's one thing for Trump appointees, and Ratcliffe has no experience in intelligence. He was a Republican congressman. He's just a political hack. And for them to shade reality and the truth, that's very normal. That's what they do for a living. For them to half lie, also super normal, right? I think there's now a chance that this is a full lie, a 100% lie, that it's not Iran at all. Now, the Democrats aren't saying that, and so, in fact, no one I know that's an official is saying that. So why am I saying it? Well, so they say Iran sent anti-Biden emails. Pause. Iran sent anti-Biden emails to intimidate Democratic voters. Why on God's green earth would they do that? They hate Trump. Well, they say no, it was a bit of reverse psychology. Yeah. When you're trying to affect an election, you often do reverse psychology. Sure, and the idea was, well, then if they think that it's the Proud Boys sending it to intimidate Democratic voters, then Trump might get in trouble. I don't think that even the Iranians are that unsophisticated. Like, oh wow, MAGA guys might turn on Trump because he supported the Proud Boys in election tampering. He does election tampering, they don't mind at all. He says to the Proud Boys, stand by in case you need to do violence. They don't mind at all. So if Iran's grand plot was, let's hurt Biden and blame it on Trump because that might get Trump in some degree of trouble with the press, that means they have no operatives at all. It makes, okay, now the reality is, no, it's just an anti-Biden email meant to intimidate Democratic voters. And so everybody stops there. That's where all the Democrats stop and go, huh, that's interesting. I can't believe that Ratcliffe said that it was meant to hurt Trump. No, go to the extra step. If it's not meant to hurt Trump and it's meant to hurt Biden, then I'm gonna ask you the most obvious question of all time. Why? Why would Iran, who despises Donald Trump, send anti-Biden messages meant to hurt Biden? That makes no sense, none. Most likely answer is Iran didn't send it. And intelligence officials say, oh, it came through Saudi Arabia, but we think it's Iran. Sure you do.
Yeah, God, I have so much to say. I think that both parties are obviously playing politics here, right? So, of course, John Ratcliffe is a Trump loyalist. He was chosen by Trump to serve in that position to essentially ensure that he has another lackey, within federal government that can further his narrative. But why? Why is there this emphasis on Iran? Why is there this ridiculous lie and twist about how, this is an effort by Russia and Iran to hurt Donald Trump's presidency? It's because who wants to call into question the validity of the election results more than Donald Trump? Donald Trump and his campaign, in my opinion, are tackling his lack of popularity and how bad he's polling from a number of different angles. So what they're doing right now is essentially playing the same game that some members of the Democratic Party played following the 2016 election, right? Call into question the validity of the outcome of the election. Oh, there was a foreign government involved. And I think mentioning Russia backs Democrats into a corner because Democrats have latched onto that narrative of Russian meddling ever since 2016. And so they can't deny all of this. So they're in this weird position right now where they're acknowledging that Russia's trying to meddle in the elections, but they're trying to question the validity of the accusations that are coming from John Ratcliffe, not Daniel Radcliffe, John Ratcliffe on this issue. Daniel Radcliffe, as far as I know, is not involved with the Trump administration in any way. But you guys get what I'm saying, right? So this is essentially setting the stage to question the outcome of the election. I think even the Democrats and members of the intelligence community, who, by the way, have come out and disagreed with Ratcliffe's emphasis on how this is allegedly hurting Trump, I think they're also focusing on the Russia angle of this and overblowing it. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I'm going to continue to go further. Given that these are, let's break down the three elements of this. They're anti-Biden emails saying, we know where you, basically to the effect that we know where you live, we know who you are, and you better vote for Trump or otherwise you're going to have trouble. I mean, you can't have a more intimidating email sent to Democratic voters and only Democratic voters. So it's terribly anti-Biden email. Number two, now the administration comes out and says, Iran is helping Biden. Remember, everybody, Biden is with Iran and the mullahs and the grand ayatollah, right? That also helps Trump massively. And number three, you can't trust the results. Iran might have stolen this election for Biden. You can't trust the results. Let's just throw away all the mail-in ballots later and call Trump the winner, okay? So that's three massive things in favor of Trump. And Ratcliffe announces it was in favor of Biden. Oh, come on, no, and with no evidence. So as usual, I'll go further than the feckless, fearful Democrats. The Democrats come out and go, I'm not sure that the implications are correct. I'm sure I believe them that it's from Iran. I believe them. I hate Iran. Don't get me wrong. I hate Iran. I believe Ratcliffe. But I don't know if his implication and inferences are right. No, I don't believe Ratcliffe at all. I think there's an excellent chance that he is 100% lying, a complete and utter lie, and those emails are not at all from Iran. And if you say, oh, no, now, after all of the stuff that the Trump people said against the intelligence officials, if they then turn around and go, no, you got to trust the intelligence officials, that's hilarious. No, I don't trust anyone in the Trump government, let alone that hack Ratcliffe, especially given that Wray came out and the FBI director and did damage control. And then, of course, Trump threatened to fire Wray, the director of the FBI. Gee, I wonder what's going on here. It's so hard to piece together.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in more detail in just a minute. But I do want to just go to the last three graphics of this story, because following that press conference, members of the intelligence community went to go speak to the New York Times to dispute the emphasis that Ratcliffe had toward Iran in his press conference. And so I want to read you the details of that. So the New York Times writes that many intelligence officials said they remain far more concerned about Russia, which in recent days has hacked into state and local computer networks in breaches that could allow Moscow allow Moscow broader access to American voting infrastructure. They added that the Russian-backed hackers had penetrated the computer networks without taking further action, as they did in 2016. Okay, so let's stop right there. Yeah, okay, so if they had done this in 2016, we're now in a new election 4 years later. Isn't this an issue with the intelligence community and the inability to protect our entire system? I mean, I just don't. Why do we spend so much money on these agencies and on national security when we can't get national security? Let me give you more. Officials did not make clear what Russia planned to do, but they said its operations would be intended to help President Trump, potentially by exacerbating disputes around the results, especially if the race is too close to call. So you have both sides accusing one another of creating a situation in which the results will come into question, right? And then finally, there's no evidence that through these hacks that Russia changed anything, including early vote tallies or voter registration information. American officials expect that if the presidential race is not called on election night, Russian groups could use their knowledge of the local computer systems to deface websites, release non-public information, or take similar steps that could sow chaos and doubts about the integrity of the results. So again, the Iran angle is super suspicious. I'm personally not buying it. I think the Russia angle is also overblown. And if we have issues with our cybersecurity, then we should do something about our cybersecurity. Of course, foreign countries are gonna want to spread disinformation about our election. Of course, foreign countries and our adversaries are gonna try to hack into our computer systems. This is a given. The fact that it hasn't been dealt with appropriately is an issue. But using these narratives in order to further the political ambitions of either party, I think is pathetic. And I mean, by this reporting, what we're hearing from the intelligence community is, don't worry, Russia hacked into our systems, but they haven't done anything. Yeah. But we don't want you guys to be worried about the validity of the outcome. I don't get, like, there's weird messaging all over the place, and it is making people question the security and the validity of our elections, and that's a problem.
No, this is a giant problem. So first of all, think about it, guys. Who's gonna interfere in a US election? Is it gonna be our allies or our enemies? Is Germany likely to hack in and change votes? Of course not. They're an ally. Why the hell would they do that? They're the good guys. Is the UK going to do that? Is Canada going to do that? Of course not, right? But either people who have a vested interest in controlling our government or our enemies are the ones that are likely to tap in and get our voter registration information and perhaps ballots. Second of all, I think the concerns about Russia are not at all overblown. So if you're still in the right or the left, when you hear Russia, you turn off your brain and you go, Russiagate, Trump told me Russiagate. And even though I'm on the left, I believe him 100%. Really? Those are the biggest hacks that Trump has. Even they come out and go, yeah, Iran, Russia too. Russia, way worse. But Iran, oh, they're helping Biden. Even the biggest hacks Trump has says yes. Russia's definitely interfering in our election again. Okay, no, beloved Trump and beloved Putin would never do that. If you think that, I'll be super kind and call you naive, okay? And I'll move on from that. Now, last thing, guys, the most important. Like when they say, hey, the Russians have the voter registration information, they haven't messed with the ballots yet. Yeah, you would do that on election day. So the fact that they haven't messed with the ballots yet means nothing, absolutely nothing. So a bunch of idiots come up and they go, oh yeah, the Russians haven't. Iran, we think, did a super unsophisticated attack. The Russians did a far more sophisticated attack, but probably they won't do anything. Really? Why? Why would you say that? That doesn't make any sense at all. Now, last part that is super scary. Let's say the Russians do change the votes, okay? You're sure that the guys who are doing cybersecurity in the middle of Iowa and North Carolina and Nevada, I'm just naming random states, that they've got it figured out better than the Russians, the Chinese, and everyone else, right? So let's say they change the ballots, and they change it so they just comical. It's ridiculous. They say Trump won when it's 10 points off, 12, 15 points off from the polling. Look, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Is it a possibility? It's a possibility. But what I'm talking about is what happens if they do that. If they do that, do you think Trump goes, oh, my intelligence guys say that they hacked in. We got to redo Iowa, North Carolina, and Nevada. No. If the Russians can tap in and change the votes, they will, and Trump will declare himself the winner, and our democracy is gone. Like that, over. No way Trump or the Republicans or anyone else in this government will redo the election, will admit that the Russians stole it, etc. I don't know that they have the capacity to do it. I'm scared given this latest report. I think at the end of the day, Biden, likely they won't, likely Biden will landslide Trump. But if the Russians do it, or anyone does it, so if you're like one of those zombies, when you hear the word Russia, you just, Russia, okay? And you're I'm resisting with every fiber of my being calling you something else. Anyway, insert the word China instead, or any other country you like, so you can focus your mind. If any country comes in and changes the ballots in favor of Trump, he's going to say, no way, I won. I don't care. I don't care how much evidence you have. I don't care how obvious it is. I don't care. I won. This democracy's over. And you think the Democrats can fight back against that? You think the Republican senators are going to say no? You think Ratcliffe is going to resist? They're saying they're going to fire Chris Wray right after the election anyway. So there goes the only decent guy in the government heading to FBI. It's over. So that's how close we are. I hope to God we don't get there. But later, people will not understand how close we were to losing democracy.
All right, we have some details on how Donald Trump will be firing Christopher Wray when we return.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
All right, back in the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. I'm worked up. Anyways, I'll take that over to the presidential debate tonight. Our coverage starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Debate starts at 9 o'clock. Don't miss that. Speaking of coverage, tomorrow night, we're going to do something fun on Twitch. So we're also on twitch.tv/TYT. And there we're going to show Gasland again. And Josh Fox is actually hosting the TYT watch party. Josh, of course, was the director of that. It was nominated for Best Documentary Feature at the Oscars, and Josh also won an Emmy for Outstanding Directing for that great movie. Joe Biden says that he's going to continue fracking. So does Donald Trump. So Josh will have something to say about that. That's tomorrow night, Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/TYT. And by the way, I want to thank one of our great sponsors that does not do put any of your money into fossil fuel companies, and they plant trees when you sign up. They plant trees when you use the credit card, and that's aspiration.com/TYT. Have peace of mind where you put your money. I love their slogan, save money and save the planet. That's right. All right, so now we're gonna go to our members. Mondo Libre writes in, just like 9/11, through Saudi Arabia, but it was Iraq. Sure it was. Okay, Milo Attica with a very nice comment. Thank you, Milo. He says, Cenk cracks me up so bad, I love this guy. Hey, my ballots have been sitting in the LA post office for 2 weeks. I'm not gonna go get them. Oh, well, just have to drive in from Utah to vote. You confused me there a little bit, Milo, but whatever you do, vote, and vote only once, okay? We just want to be clear.
Vote legally, yeah.
Yes, please do it legally, otherwise it doesn't count. It makes it worse, and you might be in trouble. All right, new members on YouTube who hit the join button below, just as we were doing the show, Luke Vasallo, Ashley Paulsell, Casey Green, and Zach Anderson. And then speaking of Zach, he also did a super chat and said, love you guys, been watching for 16 years. Let's change the world together. Damn right, Zach. That's exactly what we're gonna do. And thank you for being with us for so long. All of you members and other folks who've been watching for this long, we're all family, man. And stay with us. Look, Bowman and Bush are going to Congress. God knows who else. Cara Eastman, Pam Keith, so many others, and they're even more badass than the last batch. We are going to change the world together. All right, Anna.
All right. Donald Trump is growing more and more furious against his own FBI director, Christopher Wray, because he refuses to announce a sham investigation into the Bidens. More drama in the White House as the White House turns.
Made some very big mistakes. I asked for his resignation.
I'm disappointed in the Attorney General.
Now, Christopher Wray is the director of the FBI. This is a person who was appointed by Donald Trump. He claims he appoints the best people, but this is yet another person who is likely to get fired soon because, again, he refuses to do just a tiny bit of Donald Trump's bidding. So the conversations among the president and senior aides stem in part from their disappointment that Wray in particular, but Barr, meaning AG William Barr as well, have not yet done what Trump had hoped, indicate that Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, his son Hunter Biden, or other Biden associates are under investigation. Trump has called Biden a criminal, of course, without articulating what laws he believes the former vice president has broken. In fact, Judd Deere has responded to the Washington Post request for comment on this story, and he says, no, I mean, if the president doesn't have confidence in someone, he will let you know. It reminds me a lot of Kayleigh McEnany's statements about, I can't remember which Trump official it was.
It was Secretary of Defense Esper. She said he is
Mark Esper.
Yeah, she said he is the Secretary of Defense is still the Secretary of Defense, and and then she added, like, if it changes, the president will let you know through his Twitter account, something along those lines. Like, I don't know, check his Twitter. What do I know? God knows what he's gonna do. What am I, his press secretary?
So Trump is frustrated that Christopher Wray isn't doing a Comey-like announcement, in regard to an investigation into his political opponent. During 2016's election, Comey announced the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server that did impact her negatively in the polls, and Trump was really hoping for something similar to happen this time around. But the FBI, understandably, is not willing to get played because of what happened to Comey and because of what happened to the whole perception toward the FBI following that move by Comey in 2016. And then one other thing that's happening is Republicans in Congress are trying to engage in this like weird sham investigation. And so they're demanding that the FBI release, unredacted documents so they can investigate allegations against Biden. They're refusing to do it because they can see that this is, of course, tinged with a political motive. And so now Trump is getting increasingly frustrated with Christopher Wray, and it's now being reported that Wray's firing, could be imminent.
So those documents, by the way, Republican senators have looked at them and said they don't show any guilt. Republican senators say that. So part of the reason they're probably not releasing the documents is because they show that Trump is not telling the truth. That no attempted coup happened. Of course not. Of course they don't show that because that's insane, right? So them not releasing the documents probably helps Trump. Because if they release the documents, they'd be like, oh, it's definitely didn't happen like the way Trump said it. It's not even close. So, and that was by one of his henchmen, one of Barr's top henchmen, tried to find information that the Democrats somehow orchestrated some illegal activity against Trump during the campaign. And they struck out zero, nothing at all. As usual, what a shocker. It turns out Donald Trump was lying. Nobody could have seen that coming. So now I wanna be clear though, because it's a very important distinction. Bill Barr and Chris Wray are very different. Chris Wray is as the head of the FBI has done a pretty good job. I could almost say an outstanding job. They foiled a lot of domestic terrorist plots. We've given them credit on that. You've seen it throughout the show. They have not bent to Trump's political will as much. And so within the context of Trump administration, Wray has been outstanding. Okay, so that's
Jen,
why.
Can I please jump in? Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to give some very specific examples that are important because I think you're right on this. Remember, Donald Trump and conservatives have been trying really hard to push this narrative about how our #1 domestic terror threat is Antifa. And the FBI has come out against that, speaking out very publicly and transparently against that narrative and doubling down accurately on how the real domestic terror threat in the United States right now comes from right-wing gang members, many of whom support Donald Trump. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's that, that's point one. Point two is yesterday, when Ratcliffe the hack is talking about how Iran is trying to help Biden by sending anti-Biden emails, Wray was far more circumspect about that. They didn't like that either. But most of all, Wray will not arrest Trump's political opponents. Now, of course he's not going to arrest the Democratic candidate 2 weeks before an election, but Trump thinks there's nothing of course about that. I want to be dictator. If you want to work for a dictator, you do what the dictator tells you to do. You didn't listen to the Fuhrer, you're fired, okay? Where's the question, right? So Wray's a goner. There's no, if Trump wins the re-election, first of all, we're all goners. America's a goner, the Constitution's a goner, but Wray will be thrown out and he will be replaced by, Giuliani's chef, or Giuliani himself, or Giuliani's puppet, like a little puppet. Hello, I'm the FBI director. Because these guys are lunatics, it doesn't matter. And God, then they will arrest. I'm not kidding. It's the one saying it. Trump's not kidding when he says insane things. He tries to do them. So they will arrest all of their political opponents, and that's it. We're done for. Again, they're the ones saying it. Trump is screaming 2 weeks before an election. God damn it, why hasn't my FBI director and my attorney general arrested my political opponent, Joe Biden? Why hasn't he arrested Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Hunter Biden? So the guy is the most obvious dictator wannabe I have ever seen in my life. The fact that Trump voters refuse to see that shows you how deeply un-American they are. I think that, all right, you know my feelings about that. So now, all that is about Wray, so there's no question he's got. But guys, to give you a sense of how mentally ill Donald Trump is, Bill Barr has done everything that Trump has asked for. Everything, except arrest Joe Biden 2 weeks before an election. And he says, that's it, I'm very disappointed in him, and likely I'll fire him too. So there's no pleasing him.
I'm disappointed in the attorney general.
Yeah, he's literally in the thing that you quoted, Anna, the same exact thing he said about Jeff Sessions that we have as the White House turns intro, that he's disappointed in the Attorney General. Now this time about Bill Barr. He's saying, you're not getting it. I thought you were on board for dictatorship. That's what I'm trying to do. Arrest the guy I'm running against. I'm down 10 points. We have no chance of winning unless you arrest him. Why won't you arrest him? So apparently we found Bill Barr's bottom, the bottom of the barrel, and he apparently has one. Amazing, right? But he's saying, after everything you've done for me and every lie and every cover up and every smear, I'm still gonna fire you. So is he gonna fire Wray? That's 1,000%.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to reset for this video featuring Christopher Wray because it's important because you can see the tension. So there are reports that Donald Trump is planning on firing FBI Director Christopher Wray. I mean, soon after he had appointed Christopher Wray as FBI Director, but what really stood out in a press conference featuring John Ratcliffe, acting Director of National Intelligence, and FBI Director Christopher Wray during a press conference was how Christopher Wray seemed to be sending a message purposely refuting some of the narrative coming from Donald Trump in regard to our elections and mail-in ballots. Take a look.
We're also coordinating with the private sector, both technology and social media companies, to make sure that their platforms aren't used by foreign adversaries to spread disinformation and propaganda. We've been working for years as a community to build resilience in our election infrastructure, and today that infrastructure remains resilient. You should be confident that your vote counts. Early, unverified claims to the contrary should be viewed with a healthy dose of skepticism. We encourage everyone to seek election and voting information from reliable sources, namely your state election officials, and to be thoughtful, careful, and discerning consumers of information online.
I mean, it's incredible because that whole press conference was meant to talk about disinformation by foreign actors regarding our elections here in the United States. The whole intention of that is to sow chaos and lead Americans to question the outcome of the general election. And what Christopher Wray is doing there is, in my opinion, pointing to the disinformation campaign that has been intentionally spread by Donald Trump and his goons. And I do think that Donald Trump and his campaign is currently trying to set the stage for his supporters to question the outcome of the election should he lose. And the way that they're doing that is, unfortunately, by latching on to a very similar message some Democrats used following the 2016 election. But I have no doubt that what Christopher Wray said in the video we just showed you played a huge role in all these articles that are coming out today about how Donald Trump is planning on firing him because he's so frustrated and angry with Christopher Wray, essentially disagreeing with sham investigations into the Bidens, and in this case, speaking out against Donald Trump's disinformation campaign on voting.
So there was one critical word in that video that I'm going to come back to in a second. So Wray basically, in that press conference, downplayed what Ratcliffe said. Ratcliffe, head of the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, comes out and says, oh yeah, Iran is interfering in our elections by sending anti-Biden messages to hurt Trump. Okay, Wray downplays that. And Wray, of course, has not arrested Hunter Biden or Joe Biden before the election, and so Trump is furious. But Wray, in that little part that we just played you, first of all, emphasized, make sure you're going to trustworthy sources for information. I mean, the way he said it, it seemed like he was saying not Trump, people who actually are not lying through their teeth nonstop, right? But the critical word was, make sure you check with your state officials. Now, he punched the word state. In other words, don't trust anyone in the federal government. I'm in the federal government. I know this whole thing is rotten to its core. Check with your state officials. The federal government is completely lying.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what ends up happening with Wray. I think it's safe to assume that he's not going to be serving as FBI director for much longer. And again, that's based on people close to Donald Trump speaking to the press and expressing how angry and frustrated Trump is that Wray is not serving as enough of a lackey for his administration. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Senate Democrats and how they assisted in fast tracking the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
All right, back in the Young Turks, just enough time to thank all you guys. Here are the folks who signed up on YouTube by hitting the join button below the video. Gretchen, Nanaya Simpson, Turquoise, Drala, Omar Kalani, Rosalind, Trinidad, Winslow, Lindsay, Jerry Walters, and D. Alice. All during the show. We'll read more names later. And subs on Twitch, Rosie Cheerios, Beauty Divine, LB Art Bites, Ludacris TTV, and Joe Oberlander. You guys are amazing. Thank you for making this show possible. And check out our debate coverage later tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll do analysis before, after, and during the debates. So don't miss that. Always share the stream. And I want to check the thermometer real quick to see where we are at tyt.com/go. We're trying to finish strong this year. You are the Young Turks. Hey, there we are at 67,520. Want to see if we can get to 70,000 by the end of the night. Please keep it going. You make all the difference. Anna.
The Senate Judiciary Committee advanced the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett into the Supreme Court. Democrats, possibly in an effort to further embarrass themselves, boycotted the vote, which means it's time for another episode of The Dumb and the Feckless.
One of my prayers is that the Republicans will take back their party.
Things keep dripping out, drip, 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 and the truth comes out.
So Senate Democrats believe that the whole process has been nothing more than a sham. And so as a result, they decided to boycott the vote as if the vote in the Senate Judiciary Committee wouldn't just go on without them. It did go on without them. The vote was 12-0 with no Democrats present to officially register their objections. Democratic senators boycotted the proceedings to protest Republicans fast-tracking the nomination of the 48-year-old conservative jurist within days of the November 3rd election. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said the full Senate will vote Monday on the Barrett nomination. Republicans who hold a 53-47 majority have the votes to install her on the court. So I do want to remind you all that while they wanted to go on with this boycott of the Senate Judiciary vote, during the actual proceedings, a Democrat, Senator Dianne Feinstein, talked about how lovely the confirmation hearings were. She even gave her Republican colleague, Lindsey Graham, a nice big bear hug right after the proceedings had ended. And what did that lead to? Well, the Senate GOP putting together this lovely ad.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you. This has been one of the best set of hearings that I've participated in. And I want to thank you for your fairness, and it leaves one with a lot of hopes. Thank you so much for your leadership.
So Amy Coney Barrett could be sworn in as early as Tuesday because of the dumb and the feckless who don't really know how to fight anything, especially in Congress. So Cenk, go off.
Yeah, all right. Here at the Young Turks, we're pirates, we're outlaws. We do a segment called The Dumb and the Feckless that we're doing right now, and we have Pelosi and Schumer in it. That makes us different than every piece of media in the country. Mainstream media, they love Nancy Pelosi. They think she's a genius and so tough in politics. They're also the ones who kissed Dianne Feinstein's ass as she ran for re-election in 2018, lauding what a genius and expert she was and how experienced she was in defending the Democratic Party. That self-owned by Dianne Feinstein is one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in politics. The Republicans stole a Supreme Court seat by not confirming Merrick Garland for over a year. They're going to confirm Amy Coney Barrett a week before the election. Feinstein, the moron, goes on and says, Lindsey Graham, these are the best hearings I've ever seen. And then she gives him a big bear hug. And look at Lindsey Graham's surprise. He's like, I can't believe she's that dumb. We'll turn this into an ad. And then I'm sure she was shocked. Oh, the Republicans used my words saying how awesome they are in an ad. Oh, and the media helped them because they called me the most liberal person. And now it looks like the most liberal person thinks that the Republicans are the fairest people on earth. Come on. So the rest of the media is lying to you. They just are. If you can't call that stupid, you're not doing news. Well, I can't tell really. I've been covering politics for 25 years, and maybe that was a brilliant move by Dianne Feinstein to help the Republicans confirm the Supreme Court justice. I can't tell. What do I know? News or politics? I don't know anything. That's what the rest of the clowns on TV do, okay? That was moronic. All right, now, look guys, could they have stopped Amy Coney Barrett? It's not 100% clear that they could have, but I laid out the minute she was nominated, you can go back and watch it, 5 different tactics they could have used that would have made it a real fight, could have delayed it. And why is delay so important? They're confirming her literally, not proverbially, literally a week before the election. All they had to do was find a way to delay it 4 working days. And they couldn't do it. So first of all, how many of the 5 tactics did they use? And am I the only one that thought of those tactics? No, everybody knows what those tactics are. You know how many of them they used? 0, none of them, none of them. Now, when it's too late, they come out and go, we won't show up. Oh my God, that'll be such great optics. And everyone on MSNBC will say how brave we are. And maybe they'll replay me doing this, and so we'll seem like a genius. And if you say, hey, wait, what does Pelosi have to do with this? This is in the Senate. No, Pelosi could have used delaying tactics in the House that would have affected the Senate. No. We got to keep everything going. We got to keep everything moving. My donors would be so upset if I actually did anything, right? I mean, I raised $720 million from donors over my lifetime, but no one on television has told you that that's corrupt. They say those $720 million was just because of good feelings, right? So now what are they going to do next? Oh, they say they're going to speechify next week. Ooh. Now, if the speechifying was to delay it long enough to make a difference, great, then I'm super in favor of it, okay? Then do all the speeches you want, make them bad, make them boring, I don't care, right? But I told you to do that from the minute she was nominated because now it's too late. So instead, they're gonna be like, oh, are the cameras on? I will now do a speech that makes no difference at all. I'm a Democrat. And then they're gonna put her on the court. And now, what is Biden doing? Biden just clarified to 60 Minutes what he's going to do about the court expansion. Guys, see, Democrats, the whole point was to threaten court expansion, so you told Republicans and the American people, the Republicans are packing the court now by blocking Garland and putting Barrett in and being wildly hypocritical in doing that. The Republicans are packing the court, and they leave us no choice. If they put Barrett on the court before the election, we will have to expand the court to counter that after the election, so that you have a fighter's chance of the Republicans going, well, I don't want them to expand the court. Maybe we wait till after the election. Maybe the public puts enough pressure on them to wait after the election. I'm not saying it definitely would have happened, but that was the thought behind that strategy. Instead, Biden comes out and goes, I'm gonna do a bipartisan commission afterwards to see if we should expand it. Okay, here, Joe, can I save you the time and trouble? The Republicans are not going to agree to expand the court. Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are not going to agree. Really? Come on, really? I mean, so which one is it, Biden's team? Are you lying to us in thinking, oh, you know what? We know the Republicans aren't going to agree to expand the court, but we'll lie to you to pretend we're doing something when we know we're not going to do a goddamn thing, and we've bungled this in 1,000 different ways? Or are you that stupid? Really, at this late date, are you stupid enough to think that Mitch McConnell might agree to court expansion after the election, after he's got a 6-3 advantage on the Supreme Court? I don't believe anybody's that stupid, not even Democrats. So they're lying to you right in front of your face and going, doesn't matter. TV and the New York Times and NPR will all cover for us. And they'll call us geniuses no matter how much we do nothing to actually fight for the things that you care about.
Yeah, and when I really think about the impact an overwhelmingly conservative Supreme Court would have on our lives, I mean, the thing that everyone keeps focusing on, and I think this is legitimate, I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's always the social issues, right? It's always reproductive rights. Luckily, there has been some focus on what this would mean for the Affordable Care Act once Amy Coney Barrett is sworn into the Supreme Court. And there's also some worry about how the Supreme Court would rule on the election results as soon as Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed on the Supreme Court and sworn in. But there's never really a deep discussion on what this overwhelmingly Supreme Court is going to do to things like labor protections, what it's going to do when it comes to issues that essentially lead to more corporate deregulation, more corporate power. Those are the issues that I think most people should be very concerned about. But I feel like those are the issues that corporate Democrats don't really care about at all, which is why they never bring up those issues. They never talk about how it's going to impact people's lives. They talk about the Affordable Care Act because that's part of Obama's legacy. And sure, I'm sure they care about Americans losing protections for pre-existing conditions as well. But the fury that you're feeling right now, Cenk, is justified because this goes far beyond what we've heard legacy media outlets focus on. This is going to really have an impact on workers in this country for decades to come.
Yeah, so Sheldon Whitehouse is pretty much the only guy who brought up Citizens United. He did a couple of good speeches on it, credit where credit is due. We're not looking to bash Democrats because we want to. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had representatives that actually represented us and represented the progressive side? That's why we're excited about Justice Democrats and they're Democrats. If you really wanted to fight Barrett and get people really riled up about it, including Republican voters, because they could have pressured Republican senators, the speeches you would have given at that point is, Amy Barrett, do you believe that when a corporation gives $1 million to a politician, that they're just speaking to them? Because that's what Citizens United and all those court cases say. How about $10 million? Well, I can't tell because she says every time, I can't tell. You can't tell when a corporation gives 10 million. How about if a corporation gives $100 million to a politician? Is that just talking to them? Is a corporation a human being? I can't tell. Okay, well, you see this? This is the swamp. This is corruption. But no Democrat would ever do that because they're also corrupt. That's keeping it real. All right, an amazing post game where Trump does the best cell phone you've ever seen. Hit the join button below, become a member, we'll see you there. Thanks for listening to the full episode of the Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.